for NYC Act, Zero Emission Vehicles for New York City Act, which will literally drive down New York City's carbon footprint over the next 15 years. With this legislation, New York is about to become the largest municipality in the country to require the conversion of its fleet to zero-emission vehicles. This is a major step for cleaner air and a greener future. Motor vehicles make up 25% of our overall green gas emissions, and New York City itself has a lot of vehicles. We have 30,000 of them. This is the largest municipal fleet in the country, so without question, today's action is a major step forward in the fight to combat the changing climate. Today, New York City is codifying our commitment to a greener future by laying out a series of ambitious and accelerated milestones to transition our city's fleet to zero-emission vehicles. Within 15 years, the city will have entirely eliminated carbon-emitting gas guzzlers from its fleet. More specifically on the legislation, starting in 2025, the city must only purchase zero-emission light-duty and medium-duty vehicles. That's less than 2 years away. Starting in 2028, the city must only purchase zero-emissions heavy-duty and specialized vehicles. By 2035, all light and medium-duty vehicles currently in active operation must be replaced by zero-emission vehicles. And by 2038, all heavy-duty and specialized vehicles currently in active duty must be zero-emission vehicles. My team and I worked tirelessly over more than over a year with environmental advocates and labor leaders to ensure that we arrived at a comprehensive bill that puts this city on the right track forward. Apart from the clear environmental benefits of this bill, and my God, there are many, we included key provisions and safeguards for our city's workforce, the mechanics, electrician, and auto workers that make up our city's workforce. To first make a smooth transition to electric vehicles, we know city workers need the resources and information to adapt to emerging technology. That's why we're requiring any zero-emissions vehicle city purchases to include access to the technical service information so our city workers can do the routine maintenance and repairs. We also included language to ensure the city implements a plan to train those workers on new vehicles and to release an annual workforce development report on training efforts and the number of jobs that have been added, eliminated, or changed due to these requirements. We're also passing a resolution today calling on the mayor to use best value procurement so that our transition to zero-emission vehicles goes hand in hand with good jobs, good union jobs, training opportunities, and benefits for working families here in the city of New York. This is a historic, first-in-the-nation piece of legislation, and I am so pleased to be here today to celebrate its passage into law. I say this often, that New York City has to both be a leader when it comes to climate change, but we are also a market mover. And when major cities like New York City and other cities like its kind make big steps like this, we help move the market across the country on the issues like purchasing electric vehicles. Today is a market-moving moment and a historic moment in the city of New York and this country when it comes to combating climate change. It would not have been possible to be here today without fantastic partners who are here today. First, I want to thank the Sierra Club, especially Ben Jealous, the executive director of the Sierra Club, for his leadership and for joining us here today, and Wayne Arden of the New York City chapter, who has been a force to be reckoned with. Where's Wayne? When he talks about getting us over the finish line. And I want to say that we have 40 sponsors on this bill, and the support and advocacy from our partners like the Sierra Club, like the New York League of Conservation Voters, and other strong advocates. This would not have been possible to get to this point and to get that many people to understand the moment we are in. And for those groups, I just want to say thank you for everything you guys do, because urgent moments need urgent advocacy, and those who are standing on the front lines of responding to the crises that we are facing will be the people that history will look very favorable upon. So thank you guys. I want to thank our friends in labor, Vinny Alvarez, president of New York City Central Labor Council, a fierce champion for the workers that he represents, who understands, like we do, that as we have important goals that we're setting forth in this city, We have to make sure the workforce is protected and we create good jobs as a result of it. I want to thank the Central Labor Council and their partners who are here today in our efforts. I want to thank Joe Colangelo, president of SEIU Local 246, representing 1,500 workers who repair and maintain our city's fleet, because we're going to make sure those jobs are protected as part of this. And I want to thank Joe for his staunch advocacy as well. I want to thank our other stakeholders here, from South Bronx Unite, the Union of Concerned Scientists, to industry partners like Revel, who understand the moment we're in and have been strong advocates for it. I also want to add just a thank you to my team, to Haley and Ben from my team, and to a guy who spent hours, Brad Reed, who are from Central staff. They don't always get the applaud they deserve. I know we get the accolades, but to my staff, to Brad, to Central staff, they worked days of their life, when you added up in hours, to get this bill right, to make sure labor was part of it, to make sure that we held up our standards and we moved faster. This is a very big moment. We are making history here in New York City, but to Brad, to Ben, to Haley, to my team, I want to say a very big thank you. You guys made this happen. Thank you to everyone who worked hard to make this a reality today. I look forward to walking in that city council and that city hall today and voting on this, and having 40, hopefully 40 plus, of my colleagues join us in making history to fight for a better New York City. So thank you everyone for being here today. With that, I want to call up some of our partners. First, I want to thank and call up Ben Jealous from the Sierra Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Good morning. Good morning. I want to thank Councilman Powers for his tremendous leadership. Speaker Adams. I want to thank our phenomenal New York City Sierra Club group and our Atlantic chapter, Chair Carl Palmquist of the group, Roger Downs from the Atlantic chapter, and of course, Vice Chair Wayne Arden, who's been a lot of the vision for this and the hard work. Take a moment to thank South Bronx Unite, 9 Dot Energy, the Union of Concerned Scientists, and many others who have worked tirelessly to deliver a better future for the city. So what does this mean? This means that the air quality in the city will get better. It means fewer babies growing up to develop asthma because of poor air quality. It means fewer elders dying prematurely because of cardiac and respiratory emergencies. As someone who cut their teeth as an organizer in Harlem, organizing moms around health issues, I can feel viscerally in my bones what this is going to change. Think about all those folks who live near a bus depot, and suddenly there's not going to be a cloud of smoke that they have to live in every day from the emissions from those buses. What it also means is that this sends a signal to the rest of the country that it's time to switch. It's time to convert. It's time to draw down every dollar in the Inflation Reduction Act to build the cities of the future. And what it also means, in this moment when former President Trump is trying to bamboozle the American people once again, that instead of scaring the workers of Detroit, we're sending a big purchase order to U.S. automobile manufacturers to make the vehicles of the future for this city, and in the process, assuring them that many more will follow this city that leads all cities. This is a big deal for New York. It's a big deal for our country, and yes, it'll also help to fight climate change. So I want to thank everybody in the city for their leadership. Thank Mayor Adams in advance for signing the bill. Let's go get this done. We are very, very close to making a better future come faster for the people of the city, the people of the country, and our fellow folks here on this planet that is so endangered. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you to the Sierra Club again for your leadership and your advocacy here, and I mean it sincerely. We don't get to this moment if we don't have folks like you standing out here making sure that we get this done. So thank you guys. I want to call up Leslie Vasquez from the Clear Air Project organizer at South Bronx Unite. Hey, Leslie.
Hey.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Leslie Vasquez, and I'm the Clean Air Program organizer at South Bronx Unite. In the South Bronx, we are polluted by 3 major highways, by warehouses, and many polluting facilities that impact our air. All of those facilities bring trucks and buses that are mostly powered by diesel. And our communities of color, who are low income, who are immigrants, who are women, these people all have to suffer through the poor air quality that we have in the South Bronx. We have the highest asthma rates in the whole country, and that is not okay. We need to electrify our vehicles, especially our medium to heavy duty, because our communities are suffering. We can no longer sustain any more respiratory illnesses. We can no longer sustain any more prejudice and injustice in our communities. We need to pass the zero emission vehicles bill as soon as possible because our communities can no longer suffer for another year. We are very appreciative of all of the allies that we have today and who always support our environmental justice work. But we cannot survive and we cannot sustain any longer if we continue to have poor air quality. Thank you guys so much, but please, please advocate for more things like this because we need more people to help the South Bronx thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're now going to call up Robert Familiar, communications manager from one of our partners, corporate partner, business partners who helped advocates as well from Revel.
Thank you, Majority Leader Powers, and congratulations on getting to this moment on this historic bill. EV adoption is lagging today in New York City. Electrifying 30,000 city vehicles will more than double the number of electric vehicles registered to the city right now. This will eliminate a significant amount of transportation-based emissions, and seeing the city lead from the front as a first mover on EVs is incredibly encouraging to a public charging operator like Revel. Revel is a Brooklyn-based EV infrastructure and mobility company. We are working today to close the charging gap and bring reliable public EV infrastructure to communities across the city. In the next year, we are adding hundreds of public fast chargers, the kind that can charge an EV in minutes, not hours, across New York. Our expansion will more than triple access to fast charging for all New Yorkers. We are building the first public fast chargers by anyone in the South Bronx, in Harlem, and additional sites in Queens, Brooklyn, and Lower Manhattan. These publicly available charging stations will help more fleets from government and large delivery fleets to rideshare drivers and small businesses transition more easily to electric vehicles. Revel, of course, knows the benefits of EVs firsthand, providing the first all-electric, all-employee rideshare service. Today, we have over 1,500 W-2 employee drivers who have access to benefits like healthcare and paid time off. EVs are easier to maintain. They're cheaper to fuel, they're quieter, and of course, they don't produce tailpipe emissions that contribute to carbon in our atmosphere and harm our environment and public health. Thanks as well to the Green Rides initiative from the Adams administration, we'll see tens of thousands of rideshare vehicles electrify in the coming years as well. I commend this council and the Sierra Club for ushering in an era of electrification here in New York and for truly demonstrating to cities across this country what's achievable when we fight this climate crisis together. As a New York company, Revel is proud to partner with the city on these really important and critical goals. Thank you very much, and congratulations on the ZEV for NYC bill, Keith.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Next up, we're going to hear from Sam Wilson from the Union of Concerned Scientists.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Man, this is an incredibly exciting and historic day here. New York is taking a huge step to become the first city in the nation to require its entire fleet of municipal vehicles to transition to zero emissions. By electrifying its 30,000 vehicles, New York is taking a significant step towards a more stable climate, equitable access to clean air, and economical fleet operations as well. This isn't happening at a moment too early. Each year, fine particulate emissions from vehicles in New York City leads to an estimated 260 premature deaths of New Yorkers. And in addition to that, it's responsible for over 700 emergency room visits. I mean, this is a huge deal. Notably, around 65% of these premature deaths are responsible, or let me rephrase that. So heavy-duty vehicles in particular are responsible for around 65% of those premature deaths in the city. So it's incredibly important and notable that this bill requires the whole transition of the city's fleet. So to put that in perspective, again, 65% of the lives lost are attributed to fine particulate emissions from trucks and buses, although they represent just 6% of the vehicle miles traveled in the city. So it's a huge deal. Another notable piece here is that where California has led the nation in electrification policies at the state level, New York City is clearly forging ahead to establish itself as the leader at the municipal level. The bill not only shows the determination of the city to effect a cleaner, more stable climate and economical and equitable tomorrow, but positions New York as an example for other cities to follow. This is a model policy that should be adopted in cities across the nation, and particularly in those in states that have lagged behind in accelerated electrification. So this bill really shows that this electrification work is feasible, the technology is here today, it's economical, and let's get this done. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks to Majority Leader Powers and Sierra Club, and let's pass this bill. Thanks.
Thank you. Now hear lastly from Joe Silver from 9 Energy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joe Silver. I lead EV charging at 9 Energy. While New York City has the most progressive climate law in the country for the building sector, we've fallen behind many other progressive cities for our transportation sector. A lack of charging infrastructure has prevented the mass adoption of electric vehicles, both for personal use and perhaps more importantly, for public transit and for fleets. ZEV for NYC is a landmark bill and a statement to the world that New York will be a leader in transportation electrification too. By electrifying first, the city fleets will be a trailblazer for the private sector to follow. And the infrastructure required to support this initiative will create good jobs and attract top clean energy companies to scale up operations here in New York. As a leading NYC developer of clean energy infrastructure, 9 Energy sees this bill as a signal to invest in EV charging. We plan to add both public and fleet chargers to our battery energy storage sites, and in partnership with many EV companies and the communities we're building and where we're building. This work will build on our first EV project, the only operational vehicle-to-grid project in New York City, which we developed in partnership with Revel and with other local EV companies from Mata. The passage of this bill will accelerate the deployment of charging infrastructure in the city, and we at 9 are eager to be a part of New York City's journey. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to thank all my colleagues who sponsored this. I think Councilmember Rivera was supposed to join us, but I want to thank her as well for her joining me in introducing this bill from the outset. We can take questions. Any guys? Talk about city fleet. So we have different standards for light, medium, and heavy vehicles. We create an exemption here for vehicles that where there's no electric vehicle equivalent, and there's obviously to keep to be concerned about costs. There's some exemptions when there's an outlandish cost, but we're talking about the entire fleet of City of New York.
Like what? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, we're talking about everything from motorcycles to trucks, to big trucks that a city operates, to your average everyday vehicle that some of the employees drive around in.
Let me clarify. A department vehicle. Give me an example.
We're talking about DEP to DOT to FDNY to DSNY.
And then a quick question on, can you just give an assurance of why you think electrifying, having electric vehicles, zero-emission vehicles, can do the job, so civil service is, not going to be able to make an inspection because they're juicing up the car, or project stops because they ran out of fuel?
Look, the one really important part of this to make sure we get this right is over the years, again, to make sure there's the infrastructure to be able to charge all this. If we have that and we get that right, it should not be an issue or a problem here to make sure that our city-owned facilities are doing that. The city has been talking about doing this since the de Blasio administration at least. So we're trying to move that timeline forward. We're trying to also make sure the workers get protected in it, which is an important part that has not been discussed in previous announcements. And really make sure that's codified so it doesn't get lost in an announcement somewhere along the way. And we're confident that in the way the world is moving anyway, that this is going to be something New York City can do well.
Sorry if I missed it. Charging infrastructure, is that part of the bill? Is there any language to encourage the city to do that, or is that separate?
No, we think by doing this, we're going to have to accelerate the city's ability to create that infrastructure and to make sure that city fleet is able to do that. We've set up different timelines, so it's not going to be every vehicle all at once. We're starting with the light and some medium duty vehicles. So those are going to be the starting point of where the fleet's going to happen, and over time, we're going to move to some of the heavier duty vehicles. So it will be a process. 15 years total, but with some really important timelines coming up soon. So that's going to be a big part of it. And honestly, I think by doing things like this, we actually ensure that there's going to be the infrastructure and the city's going to move forward with it rather than hoping otherwise. Sure, and the mayor does seem supportive of it at this point in time, and we're hopeful we'll do a bill signing with him in the near future on it. I think we have, based on the timelines and giving obviously some exceptions for where there might be not, at this moment in time, a vehicle that there's no equivalent vehicle, and we're creating some ability for certain vehicles to meet the deadline at different times. I think we've solved some of the cost issues and some of the concerns about doing the transition. Ultimately, we are also fighting an urgent crisis in the city right now. We have to move fast, and we have to think about ways to move faster than we are right now. But I think ultimately we resolve some of their concerns around the exact timeline of what vehicles. And the reason we spread out different vehicles is to meet what we believe are reasonable goals to get to there. So I think that helps solve some of their concerns. Cool. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys.